everyone. Good evening. I hope you all are, very enthusiastic with today's class as well. So I'll just give you a little idea about today's class, and I would take this, opportunity to introduce Professor Barai as well. So welcome to today's masterclass first of all. And today's class is on art of negotiation. So negotiation basically takes place when two or more people, are having different views, and they come together to attempt to reach agreement on an issue. Right. So we will be actually, discussing, we'll be actually learning more about this today. So to begin with, I would like to introduce Professor Raj Barai, Faculty Marketing Management. He's a graduate from Mumbai University who has held leadership positions in a variety of industries, namely in financial services, car rental, aviation, corporate strategies, learning and development. In his 37 years of experience, he had been exposed to multiple functions like sales and marketing, channel distribution, business development, new product development, corporate training, mentoring, coaching, and consulting.
Quickly, what is the video all about?
Motivational.
Motivation? What motivation? Tell me.
There's no limit.
There's no limit. Okay, what else?
There is no age limit, sir. As Amitabh
no age
Bachchan,
limit. Okay, yeah.
It showed quoted Amitabh Bachchan at the age of 60 years and busiest superstar.
So, vision is important.
Vision is important. What else? What is what?
As long
Don't
as
be bound by what society says.
Okay. What else?
as long as you have got that willpower, you can achieve what you want.
What about passion?
You should believe in your passion. You should believe in your goals.
If you believe in your when at the start of this 2-year career that you're going in for, I thought this was an appropriate video to show you that if you want to make a difference, you yourself can make a difference. Only a single person, Mahatma Gandhi ji, was the only person who made a difference, right? He had nobody. He himself made a difference, and we remember him for all that he's done for our country. So, as an individual, you can make a difference in your life. That's the whole thing. And if you believe you can fly, you will fly, right? Does anybody have any other comments, anything to share? Please make it interactive. All of you, please make it interactive. If there's anything you want to share, please share.
Sir, what all it takes to be in people's side is the consistency, dedication, and your interest in your passion.
Okay, very good. Anybody else? No one else? Can we move ahead? Can we move ahead?
Yes,
Session
yes,
of the
yes.
day? Okay. So, what do you understand when we talk about negotiation? Somebody tell me what do you understand when we talk about negotiation? Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What do you understand when we talk about negotiation? What
Sir,
is
negotiation can be termed as an agreement between two parties where they both agree on some terms, where everybody steps back and everybody steps forward according to the needs and the situation.
Okay. Can I get one more response?
Sir, it is
nego-
when both the parties discussing a scenario do not have same opinions and actually have to step back a little or maybe move forward, as the person before me said, to come to a conclusion where they both will be agreeing on that.
Okay. Somebody else was talking. Please, you want to share your thought?
Yeah, sir, it is the strategic discussion that resolve an issue in between two parties or two groups.
Okay, so let's see what it says over here. Negotiation takes place when two or more people with differing views, right? We all don't have the same view, right? Even when you gave your interviews, or if you're giving your interviews, your views will be different. Your personalities will be different. Your passion will be different. Your strengths will be different. So people with differing views come together to attempt to reach an agreement on an issue. So negotiation takes place when people want to come to a certain conclusion on an issue. Okay, it's persuasive communication. Okay, can anyone tell me what is persuasive? When you're trying to persuade somebody, what are you doing?
To go after them, no matter what happens, you have to get over.
Right. So what do you, if I have to ask you another word for persuasive or being persuasive?
Consistency?
I could also say convince, right?
No, sir. Consistency.
Sorry?
Consistency.
Consistency, yeah, but in persuasive is more of convincing, not consistency. Okay.
To conquer his thoughts.
Consistency is like each time you do the same thing all of the time, So it's like saying that you are punctual. That means you come every day on time. So that's consistency.
To conquer his thoughts, sir.
But
to conquer his thoughts.
To please someone.
Yeah, not to please someone, to basically convince or to achieve a common agreement, basically.
To conquer his thoughts, sir.
Sorry?
To conquer his thoughts.
I don't think there's any conquering of thoughts. It is basically.
Sir, hello. Sir, sir, I think persuasion means to make other person understand our point of views. The success is achieved when we are able to make other person understand our point of views. When other person is able to understand our opinions and even agree with us that.
Persuasive communication typically means that you normally communicate. You're using persuasive communication. Means you have both. There are two people who have a different point of view, and each one is trying to convince the other to agree to a certain point of view. It may not be that A has a point of view, B has another point of view, and they could conclude on another agreement which could be C. So I'm saying it's not about putting your point and making sure that your point is taken apart. It's only about basically we come across these situations in all throughout our lives, right? Negotiation is about getting the best possible deal in the best possible way. So typically in business terminology, if you say, it's about getting the best deal in the best possible way. Okay? Let's move ahead. So simply put, it's a process of what you want from another person. Okay? A lot of times you are, when you want to get something from, when we all were children and you wanted something, you would actually you had to go and talk to your father or your mother and convince them that, look, I need this, I need that bicycle, or I need that particular video game or whatever, So we do this all the time, you negotiate with children, negotiate with parents, spouses negotiate with each other. So all this is done all the time, negotiation is part of our life. We always do it on day-to-day basis in everyday life. So even you are, or me, or anybody in this group is a negotiator basically. Are you all getting what I'm saying?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Should we move ahead? Okay. Why should we negotiate? Okay. Negotiations occur for several reasons. Okay. It could be to convince people to take your side of an issue. So you're trying to convince somebody that, okay, I want to join UBS, and the other person saying, no, I want to join XYZ universities. You're convincing them why you should join UBS. Okay. So it could be on that. You agree on how to share or divide a limited resource. So there's a limited resource, and you agree on how to divide that resource. Normally it would be 50-50, it could be 60-40, 70-30, whatever it may be. So it's a limited resource and you're agreeing how to share that resource, okay? You normally negotiate to solve a problem or if there is a dispute between parties. So a lot of times disputes happen on various things, Some disagreement happens between two people and they agree to appoint some third party as a moderator. So I'm saying this is a normal scenario where, there is a dispute and you have to resolve the dispute. So when you resolve the dispute, a problem between two parties, you're actually, negotiating. Somebody is giving in a little bit, somebody is taking in a little bit. So it's basically negotiation. When you sell, a lot of times selling actually is negotiation because you're trying to convince the prospect to buy your product, okay, or service. And obviously in sales, negotiation is a continuous process. Can we move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, good. Just give me a minute, sorry. Okay, so customers' attitude toward your product or service generally falls into 4 categories, okay? This I'm talking about typically in a sales scenario where a customer has an objection, okay? A lot of times we believe if customer is objecting to something, then he is not interested. But objection, actually in actual sales, because I started my career in sales and distribution. So I know that if a customer is raising an objection or if he is wanting to know more information, then he's actually interested in the product. So an objection, indifference, somebody has indifferent. I don't care if I get Samsung or MI, it's okay. I'm indifferent towards both. Skepticism, you're skeptical, you're not sure. You need more information. So that's a scenario, you're accepting whatever is available. You have no other option, so you're accepting whatever is available. What is the difference between bargaining and negotiating? Tell me. What is the difference between bargaining and negotiating?
The bargaining is actually limited to just price.
Okay.
About how much to pay or how much the person is willing to pay.
Actually, yes.
Negotiation can be on anything. It can be not just in terms of money, it can be in terms of even in resources or just a simple contract to get someone to do something. Even in that, negotiation can be.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's basically involves an exchange of value, agreements and promises of performance, okay? So when you negotiate on certain goals, okay, in an organization, you're actually agreeing to say that, okay, in return to this particular assignment that you're giving me, I will agree to do this. So it's a give and take relationship, okay? So very, very simply, you can also say it's a give and take. If I'm going too fast, let me know, okay? There are 4 methods of negotiation. 4 basic points come here. Separate the people from the problem. Okay. So negotiation often arises from the fact that you're in disagreement. Yeah, Adarsh, you want to say something?
Sir, bargaining can be said like more of customer based, and negotiation can be said like 2% the customer and the consumer.
It can be a lot of times. It can be consumer and the salesperson or the whoever is selling. But negotiation you can link negotiation to your own life. Okay, when you are convincing your parent for something, or you're convincing to go out on a trip somewhere, you're convincing your mother or father or whatever. So I'm saying that at all levels, even when you grow old and you have children, the children negotiate with you. So it's basically negotiation is part of life. Okay, it's not just a negotiation for buying or selling. It's part of life. So whenever you look at negotiation, there are some 4 basic points that you need to keep in mind. Separate the people from the problem. When I say separate the people from the problem, that means that focus on the issue. Don't focus on who is there. So you may be negotiating with your boss, or you may be negotiating with a colleague, or you may be negotiating with a friend. Okay, so it doesn't matter. But so you don't need to focus on the person. You need to focus on the part of that you're negotiating, and focus on interests, not positions. Again, what is your interest? Your interest is to make sure that you get this particular negotiation in your. You're not focusing on any positions, whoever it may be. But the style changes. Only it's just that when you talk to your boss versus talking to a friend, there are 2 different styles. When you're talking to a senior in your college, then you have this. Your approach is more on this your approach is more like, I'm trying to convince, right, or I'm trying to tell you my problem. Okay, whereas with a friend you could use some part of aggression, but a lot of times with certain people you may not use aggression. Am I right, guys? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Invent options for mutual gain. So when you negotiate, it cannot be one-sided. मुझे सब कुछ मिल गया, तुमको कुछ नहीं मिलेगा. It's not like that. It has to be mutual gain. Then only people will negotiate. Otherwise, negotiation will not happen. Okay. Then that's not called negotiation. Then it's a one-sided deal actually. Okay. And you are always using objective criteria for negotiation, because when you use objective criteria, then you can define what you are giving and what you're getting. Okay. So both the things can be defined when you give it an objective criteria. Okay. So let's understand how we make. Yeah.
What is objective criteria?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
What is objective criteria?
Objective criteria is mainly linked to a particular thing. So let's say you are negotiating about money. Okay. So then when you're negotiating about money, then it's a give and take, no? Because let's say you have a offer from a company, and your existing salary is, let's say, X, and you are asking for 3X. So you need to justify what is it that you're going to do, that you're going to get to the organization, so that they can, give you that 3X. So that, see, because always it's a price valuation, right? Whenever you buy something, right? Or whenever you go and pick up something, you see the features and the benefits, and then you actually, link it to the price and say, oh, okay, good. It's another thing that people buy 80,000 and 100,000 rupee worth phones because iPhone is a brand. But we are talking about normal life negotiations, where you actually go out and, do normal kind of, it's a kind of a discussion or a arrangement where you kind of do it. So objective criteria technically means that, it should not be very subjective. The opposite of objective is subjective. Whenever there's subjective, there is no material gain. So if there is no material gain, then you can define that, look, I had 4 apples, I gave you 2, I kept 2. And so you're happy, I'm happy. I'm okay, you're okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great. Let us understand how we make decisions. So let's go a little bit into the mental side of how people make decisions. So here is the ladder of inference. So if we start from the top, I take actions based on my beliefs. So we all we have some beliefs about some things. Okay, so we take actions based on beliefs. Okay, I adopt beliefs about the world. So I adopt beliefs from what knowledge I have in me about the world. That's where I get the beliefs. And then from there, I draw my conclusions. Okay, and on basis of the conclusion, I make assumptions based on the meanings I add. I add meanings, cultural and personal. I select data from what I observe, and then from that data. So basically, the mental model, the ladder of inference, is basically prompting you from the start that, okay, when you have a belief, you actually pick up a belief, and then you draw a conclusion, and then you make an assumption, and you add a meaning, and then you add the data, and then that goes on. So it's a cycle. The ladder of inference describes the thinking process that we go through usually without realizing it to get from a fact to a decision or action. The thinking stages can be seen as rungs on a ladder and are shown in figure. Are you with me? So here, your thinking process is linked to the ladder of inference actually describes the thinking process that we go through usually without realizing it from fact to a decision or action. So actually, a thought can result into an action, and the thinking stages can be seen as rungs on a ladder and are shown in figure. Are you all there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So focus on interest, not positions. Let's see what that is. Understand what is in it for me. So when we talk about focus on interest, not positions, if there isn't anything for somebody else, why would he negotiate with you, right? So there should be interest of both the parties. So whether it's a friend or if it's any family or any member, when you're talking to individuals or to human beings, negotiations happen because there's something in it for both, right? Sometimes even somebody loses at the cost of winning, at the cost of you winning, because they want to allow you to give you that thing. It could be something tangible or intangible or whatever. So I'll give you an example. Okay, so let's say you're negotiating with your parent for a holiday, okay, which is a 2-week holiday at some destination costing X amount of money. So you're actually saying, look, I am just finished my graduation, and before I go to my MBA, I want to go for a holiday. So you're actually putting your points across, saying who all are going. Your parents will ask you, who is going to be with you, how are you all going, how is it, where are you going to be staying, what is the total expense, and why you chose this destination. Maybe there are some parents who will ask some more questions, maybe some will not ask questions, but basically what is it that the parent is giving to the child, to you? I mean, in your context, I'm using the word parent is because obviously you are trying to convince or negotiate with your parent that, look, I want to go on this trip so I can unwind, I can, relax so I can go fresh for my MBA. So your parent will give in saying, yes, great, for the satisfaction of my child, I'm okay to let you go. Okay, saying, okay, you will go and have a good time with your friends. So you get to go on a holiday, and your parent also gives in saying that when you come back, you will be rejuvenated and you will have less stress and you will go fresh for the MBA. Are you getting what I'm saying? Are you able to relate?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you change according to audience. So it depends. So who is in front of you negotiating? Whether it's your parent or it's a peer or it's your own brother, sister, or whatever. Okay. Invent options for mutual gain. Okay. So let's look at this. 4 major options that inhibit invention of options. Okay. We all have some premature judgment. We've already decided in our minds, this whole thing has to be in my favor. It's my way or the highway. Okay. So that could be one thing. Searching for a single answer. You're not looking at anybody else's point of view, you're only looking at your point of view. Sometimes it happens, right? When we try to look at certain things, we only look at us. We don't look at the other person. So you need to look at, these are the obstacles that, which doesn't give you an option to invent, which doesn't give you invention of any options, right? Assumption of a fixed pie. You have fixed yourself, itna to mujhe milna hi chahiye. Itna to mera hak hai. And then thinking that solving the problem is their problem. So here basically what we are saying is that what are the obstacles that can stop you from starting the negotiation process. Okay. 4 basic steps to invent options. Define the problem, analyze that, get into the deep cause of the problem, approach what are the possible strategies, and then you take action. So it's a typical any problem statement or any problem that you have. You define the problem, you analyze what are the causes of the problem, you give possible suggestions and strategies, and you action on those ideas. Okay. So here you have systematic problem definition, 6 basic questions. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. It's actually called the 5 W's and 1 H. So who has a problem? What does the problem seem to be? When does the problem occur? Where does the problem occur? Why does the problem occur? What is the root cause? And how does the problem occur? How can the problem be solved? So if I give you a question saying that, tell me what are the systematic problem definition, 6 basic questions, then you need to know the 5 W's and the 1 H. Who, what, when, where, why, and 1 H is how. Okay, let's get into some problem techniques. These are some of these tried and tested techniques which have been shared. Okay, problem analysis techniques are root cause analysis. Anybody heard of this word, root cause analysis? In your graduation, anytime, have you heard of root cause analysis?
Yes, sir.
What is it actually, root cause analysis? Whom am I talking to?
The Komal Gill.
Sorry?
Komal Gill.
Yeah, okay. Tell me, what is root cause analysis?
So finding out the reason why the problem has arisen and analyzing it.
A lot of times what seems on the face of the problem may not be the actual problem. But when you go deep into the problem, you actually realize that jo dikhta hai wo problem nahi hai, the problem is something else. Am I correct?
Understanding the foundation.
Yes, sir.
Foundation of that problem.
Yeah, please, yeah. Can you speak louder? Whoever is sharing this?
Sir, understanding the foundation problem.
Root causes understanding the main cause of the problem, not what is visible to you. Look at the invisible problem, or look at the invisible concern that is coming out of the problem. So here you go and you look at root cause. So what do you say? Symptoms of the problem, the weed above the surface, obvious. The underlying cause, the root below the problem. So the word root in root cause analysis refers to the underlying causes, not the one cause. Okay. So what is visible is the weed on top, but there are a lot of significant amount of when you do a root cause analysis, you are saying there's not only one cause, there's more than one cause. Okay. So say use these tools when you want to conduct root cause analysis for a problem or situation. If we look deeper to figure out what's causing the problem, we can fix it permanently. Why? See, root cause analysis fixes the problem permanently. Otherwise, if you just don't do a root cause analysis of any particular situation and you just solve it, then there are chances that it may recur. Okay. So a lot of times, for example, like in the case of COVID, right? We always made sure that you were absolutely COVID free before you actually went out. So that's why the quarantine, and then after the quarantine, then you obviously went and got another test done to see if it was negative. Some people went and got a test done after another 4 days to see if that negative was still negative. So you were actually doing a root cause analysis of the COVID infection that you got. Anybody can give me any other example of root cause?
Factory strike, I'm correct. Factory strike.
Can you speak louder? Unfortunately, I'm not able to hear you. Speak closer to the mic.
Sir, factory strike, if I can.
Factory strike.
Yes, sir. Sometimes we just solve the strikes which are currently happening and not look into the deeper cause, like labor union, and they're thinking about what is causing the problems in factory.
That is true. Yeah. Anybody else? Getting to the root cause. Anybody done any root cause anytime in your career so far? Did you get a chance to do a root cause analysis? It may be in a very informal way, but did you do any root cause analysis? Hello?
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I am Rishabh. I did one of a root analysis that I used to lift heavy weight. Very first stage, I was lifting pretty much good weight, but after that, there was starting a pain in my thighs and in my underbone. Then my trainer said, you're lifting weight correctly, but your posture is not a good way. So that's why the root cause. My trainer actually found it for me.
Okay, very good. Yeah, very good example actually. Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is, once you have identified the causes, and you're able to focus on this, then you're able to focus on all the solutions to resolve them. And then this technique helps you to answer the question why the problem occurred in the first place. So what you're actually doing is that you're getting rid of the problem from the root. You're eliminating the problem from your life. So that problem probably doesn't occur at all. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about, root cause? Can I go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you ask 5 times to arrive at the root cause, Fivewise is an iterative interrogative technique used to explore the cause and effect relationship underlying a particular problem. The primary goal of the technique is to I'm reading from somewhere, so I'll explain to you once I read. Okay. The primary goal of the technique is to determine the root cause of a defect or a problem by repeating the question why. Each answer forms the basis of the next question. The 5 in the name derives from an anecdotal observation on the number of iterations needed to resolve the problem. Okay, so what we are saying is that a lot of times when you get into the root cause, there may be not just one problem, there may be multiple problems. So you should actually, when you get into the root cause, you should also look at other problems. Okay, so a lot of times, let's say, for example, I'm saying that, you're not able to focus on your academics. I've seen a lot of trend where a lot of students gain excellent marks in 10th and then suddenly 12th, the marks drop considerable percentage, aggregates of people who got 80, 90, they come down to 70 and 60. So when you sit and do a root cause of that, I'm just making a general statement, so it's not particularly meant for anybody. But when you sit and do a root cause, you start thinking, okay, what did I do? What did I do right? Okay, yeah, I went to college. Did I attend all lectures? Maybe I didn't do that. So you're ticking on the other side. Like this is one cause. Second, okay, when I attended the lectures, did I take all the notes that I had? Okay, some I did, some I did not. So in both cases, you're actually did not complete. Okay, I was out of school, so I thought, I'm a free bird, so I actually bunked a lot of lectures. Okay, so that becomes another cause. Okay, so when you make that chart, you actually realize what are the cases why your academics drop. Okay, and then if you introspect, so you can share this with your peer or your brother or somebody who's saying that, okay, if you're doing well in 10th and in the 11th, if you do a root cause analysis and say, okay, look, I'm going to focus on these things, and you share that with him, it's going to help him saying that, okay, let me see that I don't fall back on my academics, because what happens is that a lot of times people take 10th as the gold benchmark, saying 10th exam over means, oh my God, school is over. Now I'm in college, so now I can do whatever I want. I can just take free time. I can go out. I can do anything. I'm talking about pre-COVID, okay? So don't link this to COVID situation, but I can go out. I can go out with friends. I can enjoy myself. So enjoy is okay, but that at the same time, if you want to be consistent in your academics, then you need to make sure that you also focus on your academics and keep a balance between both fun and work. Are you all with me?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
The second one is the second one is the Fishbone Strategy. Okay, similar to the root cause analysis in Fishbone Strategy, you find out potential causes according to their level of importance. Okay, you brainstorm all the possible causes for a problem. A fishbone diagram is useful in brainstorming sessions. So a lot of times, so let me first read this out, then I'm going to share this with you. Fishbone diagram is useful in brainstorming sessions to focus conversations. The designer diagram looks like a skeleton of a fish. Fishbone diagrams are typically worked right to left, with each large bone of the fish branching out to include smaller bones containing more details. So what do you do? So this is another way of analyzing the problem. Okay, so anybody heard of Fishbone Strategy? Has anybody heard of Fishbone? If you haven't,
sir, I have not heard, but I can relate to one of a past scenario. I can.
Okay.
In last October, Ford India left India.
Okay.
So what I can relate to it, but they are not updating their product. They are not doing much marketing of for their, but they are side by side. They are interrelated to each other, and there's only 10 to 15% Indian who are ready to buy such product. I mean, enthusiastic about their product. But everyone here see the mileage and the features, but no one cares about real USB of cars. They are not really work upon their product. What I can relate.
Yeah. So they were actually to add to what you're saying, they were actually gasping for breath in terms of business, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So all the competition that was there, and finally they had to exit one day and say, okay, we need to leave this market because it's not making sense.
Each and every one was integrated with.
That's right. Okay. So look at this. We're doing, the problem here is lack of sales. So it's related to staff. It could be, we are understaffed. So that's why sales, you're not able to attend. You're not able to derive your sales, product availability. A lot of times, let's say it's a retail outlet and people are coming in, and COVID situations, a lot of times we had this problem. We had to make do with whatever we had. A lot of times, a lot of people, like for example, it happened with me. A lot of times, certain brands of whatever I wanted were not available. I had to make do with whatever I had because there was limited time. Shops were open only up till 10 p.m., 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. So you had to go shop and pick up whatever you wanted. So insufficient stock also was this situation also arises in, we've seen the last 2 years how, there was, I don't know if you all know, but in Bombay, I am from Bombay, and I know that we had to line up at 8 o'clock to get into the store, and limited people were released in the stores to shop. And then once you got out, then the other people got a chance to get in. So this doesn't relate to this particular problem, but I'm saying COVID has taught a lot. Each and everyone has learned a lot from COVID, because COVID has taught a lot how to adjust in life, how to live with limited means, right? We earlier had the luxury and liberty to get whatever you wanted, whatever time. But COVID has taught you that if you want to go out for a meal, you have to leave at 7 and come back by 10 o'clock, because otherwise the restaurants will close. Or otherwise, in any normal situation, you would go at 10:30 and pick up something anywhere. So I'm giving you, situations related that could be relevant to you. So COVID has taught us to be flexible, taught us to be, be self-sufficient. It also taught us to be satisfied with whatever you have. Okay, make do with whatever you have. Because at that time, things were not available. All the shops were not open. You remember a time when there were only grocery shops and medicine shops were not available. So were you able to go shopping? Like for example, I had the urge to go shopping, but I was not able to go shopping because I didn't like to order. If I want to order, any kind of clothing, I would like to go and personally check it out rather than buy it online. Okay, so maybe these situations happen with some of you, right? So lack of sales happens because of understaffed, insufficient demand, okay, insufficient stock. The competitive pricing is lower than yours. Yours is very high, but you never did any competitive price benchmarking. So you always thought you were the premium brand, and that's why you were continuing to charge a premium for whatever you sold. Lack of promotions. See, a lot of times, a lot of these brands, for example, I don't know if you heard of Cotton World. Any of you have heard of Cotton World? Have you heard of Cotton World?
Yes, Cotton World, and I also, yes, I have heard it.
So they come out periodically. If you're a member of Cotton World, you always get these promos from there saying that, okay, you buy merchandise worth so much, you get so much off, or you buy this 2 get 1 free. So they continuously keep promoting, because then, what happens is that way they can get rid of the stock they have and they can order new stock. So Fishbone Strategy also helps you in understanding what is the problem and where you need to fix the problem. Okay. So now the third analysis is the Pareto analysis. Can anybody tell me what is Pareto? It's called the 80-20 principle. Have you heard of this? If you've not heard, it's okay. But if you heard of, tell me what you heard of this. It's called the 80-20 principle. Guys, give me a response so I know. Hello?
No, idea.
Sir, we are unaware of it.
You're not unaware of it. Okay, so Pareto analysis is basically we calculate most of our daily activities in percentages. So Pareto is related to percentages. Pareto is the idea indicates that 80-20 rule. Okay, so basically this is come from a late 1940 Romanian-born American engineer and management consultant Joseph M. Juran suggested the principle and named it after Italian economist Wilfredo Pareto. Maybe you can do a little bit of reading on Pareto on yourself. Okay, so who observed the 80% income in Italy went to 20% of the population. It is a statistical technique in decision making used for the selection of a limited number of tasks to produce maximum effect. For example, the idea by doing 20% of the work, you can generate 80% of benefit of doing the entire job. So for example, a lot of times I'm in sales. So I had a core team which almost contributed 70% of, so 20% of the people who were in my team, let's say I had 100 people, 20 people in my team always produced 70% of the results because they were the regular performers, they were the core team. So that this is a normal phenomenon where, 80% of the contribution comes from 20% of the people. So this makes you put more efforts on the 20% people, or let's say 80% sales are produced by few customers. Let's say only 20% customers. This makes you put your efforts more on the 20% customers because they are your loyal customers. So a lot of times it's a principle of focusing where your priorities are. So you will not focus on the people. So a lot of times these companies run these loyalty programs. A lot of these companies run loyalty programs. Practically every company runs a program where you have bronze level, silver level, gold level, platinum level. All the airlines and all the hotels have programs. A lot of these intermiles, which was the earlier jet privilege program, they were all running these programs. So there they know that who are the high spenders. Every credit card company, have you heard of credit card company loyalty programs? Reward and recognition, they give you reward points.
Yes, sir, yes.
Correct.
So every program, sometimes you get these SMSs or emails from them. Okay, this period you shop at any of these outlets online, you will get 10x points or 5x points. So your points will multiply 5 times more or 10 times more. So that is something what they do. And it's a lot of analysis they do at the back end, which makes them realize that, look, if we focus on these 20% people, we're going to be able to get 80% of the business. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm only going to, in the interest of time, I'm sharing the concept with you. What I would suggest is that you go and look at, on your own at your leisure time, understand it better. So I'm just basically sharing the concept with you. So here 80% sales from 20% of customers. So same way, 80% problems from 20% of targets. Okay. Third one, 80% delays from 20% of staffs. Okay. So these are some of the, examples. 80% of customer complaints arise from 20% of your products and services. So then what do? You focus only on the 20% products that are giving you the problems. So what happens? It gives a priority to the organization to focus on the problem because they don't have the time to, you have to fix the problem instantly. Otherwise the time will go away. 80% of delays in the schedule result from 20% of the possible causes of the delays. Especially for airlines, trains, all these people, why the delays happen, for what reasons. Okay, 20% of your products and services account for 80% of your profit. So why would I want to focus on other products? I will keep the other products, but I will focus on the core products, right? 20% of your sales force produce 80% of your company revenue. This I myself have been a witness to this, that 20% of the people achieved 80% of the overall target. The others are floating population. They come and go. Those sales got high turnover. 20% of systems defect cause 80% of the problem. So if you fix those 20% defects, your system problems will get resolved. 80% of sales come from 20% of your customers. So you focus on those 20% customers, you are obviously going to get much more out of by focusing on those 20%. This is where I talked about the loyalty program. You focus on the loyal customers, you give them promotions and benefits, and you'll see that your business goes up. So a lot of this involves a lot of analysis at the back end. Okay. So whilst I'm giving you the concept, you may want to, if you want to better understand any of the concepts, you can go and type. So the 3 things we spoke about before I sum up. We spoke about the root cause analysis. We spoke about the Fishbone. Which is the second one we spoke about?
Fishbone strategy.
Fishbone analysis.
Fishbone strategy.
Now we're talking about the Pareto analysis.
Correct.
Just a second. So here you go. It's said on a nutshell. Okay. 20% of a sales force produces 80% of a store revenues. Identify on these 24 and focus on those first. So there you have the root cause of the problem. So you focus on 20%, your problem is solved. Insist on using objective criteria. How do you develop objective criteria? Okay. Now here is something that is interest to you. Okay. And this is the different types of, what do we call it? Passive, aggressive, and assertive. What are these? Types of what? Tell me, what are these? Anybody? You communicate? You heard the word communication?
Voice.
Yes.
Types of people.
Types of
communication.
Type communicators, right? You're
Soft
a passive.
skill.
Yeah, you're a passive communicator. Are you an aggressive communicator, or are you an assertive communicator? So before I actually take you through this table, what is the ultimate communication that you need to get? You need to be passive, aggressive, or assertive?
Assertive.
Assertive.
Depends,
So
sir.
let's take the first example. A passive person is afraid to speak up. Aggressive interrupts and talks over others. Okay. Whereas the assertive speaks openly. So he gives an equal chance to everybody to speak. Passive speaks very softly. Aggressive speaks very loudly. Assertive uses a conversational tone. So both can talk, right? Passive shows little or no expression. Aggressive intimidates others with expression. What happens? He's overpowering, intimidating, jada aggressive. Okay. Whereas the assertive shows expressions that match the message. So not too high, not too low, not too loud, not too slow. Okay. Passive isolates themselves from groups. Assertive tries to control the group. Aggressive tries to control the group, and assertive participates in groups. Passive hurts to self to avoid hurting others, whereas the aggressive hurts others to avoid being hurt. Tries to hurt no one, including self. So there are some of the examples that are given. Again, on this being limitation of time, I would suggest you go and look up passive, aggressive versus assertive, and what are the behaviors that you need to focus on. A passive guy does not reach goals and may not know goals. Reaches goals but hurts others in the process. Aggressive. And the assertive guy, so usually reaches goals without alienating others. It means what? He's not the only one who's the winner. He creates a winning environment. Creates a winning team. So all the types of assertive behavior, I'm going to sum up for a minute for you. Assertive guy speaks openly, uses a conversational tone, shows expressions that match the message, participates in groups, tries to hurt no one, including self, usually reaches goals without alienating others. So, in terms of behavior and in terms of communication, all of you need to ultimately get into the assertive mode of communication. Okay? Some assertive techniques I'm sharing with you. These are important. You may want to write it down also if you want, or you can, enter it in your whatever mobile and then look at it. Okay? So some of the techniques are here. The first one is fogging. Okay? When you're fogging with somebody, what is that technique? It allows you to receive criticism comfortably without getting anxious. So somebody is criticizing you for something, okay? But when you're in a fogging mode, you don't take that criticism or get defensive or get anxious. You basically, so I'll give you an example of what fogging is all about. Okay, 1 second, just give me a minute. So colleague says, I think you're going ahead with your idea without discussing it with me. It gives management an impression of our possible disconnect. So the person who's fogging will automatically respond to that question, will say, I understand the management might get that impression, but sometimes when you're not reachable, I have to go ahead with the task. Work has to go on. So second example about fogging, client says we are able to get the same quality product from others at a much better rate. Don't you think these rates can be further revised considering the competition? Okay, so when you're fogging, you say this is your response. Sure, there are competitors who might compromise on the price. However, we compromise neither on price nor on quality. Second technique is diffusing. Okay, a lot of times you realize you're talking to somebody and the person gets very upset or very hostile, or is very angry. So you need to use the diffusing technique. The diffusing technique means that you let the person cool down before you can discuss the issue. So a lot of times somebody comes very angry with you and you say, I can see that you're very upset and I can even understand part of your reaction. Let's talk about this later. So what you're doing, you're actually diffusing the situation, diffusing the anger, or it could be anything, or the hostility, and that way you are using that technique. The third one is negative assertion. Okay, negative assertion means what? It involves accepting the truthful part of a criticism made against you, and you actually use a bit of a humor. So somebody criticizing you, but you're using humor to take that criticism. So I'll give some examples here, which will be easier to understand. Okay. An example would be, yes, you're right, I don't always listen closely to what you have to say. So you should accept your errors or fault, but not apologize. Instead, tentatively, sympathetically agree with hostile criticism of yours. An example would be, yes, you're right, I don't always listen closely to what you have to say. So basically, you're making the conversation light. You are stupid. Maybe I'm stupid, but at least that makes people smile. You're always making mistakes. Yes, I do make mistakes. I'm still learning. You're aggressive. But I'm trying to work on it. See, these are techniques which can help you diffuse a particular situation. So fogging, diffusing, negative assertion, and negative inquiry. Let's see what negative inquiry is. This technique requires a lot of self-confidence. When someone is attacking or criticizing you, you ask them for constructive criticism. So somebody says, you are stupid. Oh, what specifically am I not understanding? Why are you calling me stupid? Why is he saying stupid? You are lazy. All right. And why do you feel I am lazy? You do not exactly understand what I am trying to say. Oh, please explain me once again what I am not able to understand. I think this solution is not workable. And why specifically you think this solution is not workable? So basically you are actually rephrasing that thing in an affirmative way. So fogging, diffusing, negative assertion, negative inquiry, these are some of the things that you can use as assertiveness techniques. Whenever you're using assertive communication or assertive behavior, you can use these techniques. There are some scenarios. If you want to write it down, I can keep it, or you can practice. These are some scenarios. So two friends are trying to make plans for the evening. One friend wants to go for coffee. The other friend wants to see a movie. So how will you use any of the other techniques like fogging or anything? So you can take down these two scenarios and then work on it. How will you apply assertive styles in this situation? So always when you applying an assertive style, you first acknowledge and respect the other person's idea and then present your views. Oh, I agree with what you're saying about going for coffee, but let's go and see a movie instead. Yeah, I'm really keen to see a movie this time. Maybe we can have a coffee at the movies. So you're actually finding a midway. Are you all with me, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That you're with me. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good. So again, this is another example. Two college roommates just received 10,000 to share. One roommate wants to buy a small refrigerator share, but the other roommate wants to for a night out. So you basically, what do you do in assertive style? You use a leadership technique. You first acknowledge and respect others' ideas and then present them as strong points of views. Okay. I think this will come with practice. So listening. How important is listening in your life? Tell me. How important is listening in your life? Is listening important at all for us to be successful?
Yes, sir, it's very important.
Listening, because of listening, we can analyze things, sir.
Okay, great. So here's a chart, okay, which talks about listening. So there are points given, okay. 1 point, always, usually, often, rarely, never. when listening to another person, I get distracted. Okay, so if you never get distracted, you give yourself 5 points. If you often get distracted, then you give yourself 3 points. Okay, so listen only to facts. Okay, assume the other person already knows, interrupt, prejudge, tune out. So if you have the opportunity to write this down, you can do it, and then you can do this exercise. I'll share the scoring with you. Okay, that if anybody who scores between 31 to 35 points is an effective listener. So if you get 31 to 35 points, you're an effective listener. Quickly write this down. It will help you do an exercise later here. I'm giving you 2 minutes to do that. Write it down. So on the horizontal side, there are different types of behaviors, and then you always, usually, often, rarely, and never end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you can tabulate it and see what it is. I'll give you the parameters for what is an effective listener, what is a good listener, and what is a not so good listener. Okay, so tell me when you're done. I think this is an important exercise for you to do. And with 36 people, I can't do this exercise over here. So that's why I'm saying you take it down and then do this exercise. I would suggest you do this exercise. Are you able to do it now? Have you taken it down? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir. Done.
Great. So if you get 31 to 35, you're an effective listener. Okay? Hear me carefully. 21 to 30, you're a good listener. If you get 14 to 20 points, you're a not so good listener. And if you get less than 13 points, then you need to work on your listening skills here. Okay? Any questions? Guys, any doubts? I'm moving ahead in the interest of time. The biggest communication problem is that we do not listen to understand, we listen to reply. That's why talk more, listen more, talk less. Okay? Pause and play. Okay? People tend to feel uncomfortable with silence, especially when they have doubts in the merit of their position. Since silence creates impression of a stalemate, which other side may feel compelled to break with statement or suggestion. So power of pause is always good. You know, sometimes saying something can create a problem. So silence is golden, as they say. Okay. Phrase your words properly. It makes a difference. So there's an example given here. 2 priests persuaded smoking. They really needed to puff on cigarettes even when they prayed. Both decided to ask their superior for permission to smoke. The first asked if it was okay to smoke while praying. Permission was denied. Okay. The second priest asked in a different way. He was allowed to pray while he was smoking. His superior found his dedication admirable and immediately granted him the request. So communication, there's a lot on communication that we'll do when you come to campus, but communication is very important. The way you phrase your communication, okay? And also in terms of connectivity and building trust, you know, connect, convey and convince, okay? The second one is how will you show enthusiasm at work? People who appear more active are more likely to get promoted. So whenever you shake hands with confidence. I'm showing you a picture which has got different types of, body postures which are confident. So tell me which row? The top row is what? Confident or not confident versus the second row? Look at it from left to right.
Yes, sir. They are confident.
So which one is confident?
First row.
First row is confident.
Why is the second row not confident?
Because of their body posture.
Body language, right? Eye contact not there. Body posture is very... Yeah.
Isn't the first row overconfident?
I'm coming to that. Yeah. So some positions there are, you don't cross the limit of professionalism. So if you see the first picture, I think this may not be the absolute correct position. Okay. Second also may not be absolutely professional. So what you need to do is, in these confident postures, you need to see what is professional and what is not. So a lot of these postures, you rightly pointed out. What is your name?
Anushreya, sir.
Yeah, so you rightly pointed out that these are overconfident postures. So you need to do not cross the limit of professionalism. So we will talk more about body language when here you are. What happens when you mirror the other person, copying the other person's gestures to gain acceptance, thinking alike? Mirroring usually comes with well, conversation goes well. Okay. Mimic people body language to get them to like you, but not too much negative posture. So mimic the positive ones, not the negative ones. Okay. A slight touch always helps. Okay. A good touch, which is saying in socially, a good touch is always good. In a formal environment, people are more alert. Informal environment, people makes people feel like friends. So always, if possible, create an informal environment wherever you are. Okay. Whenever you're speaking in a public forum, avoid pointing. You may want to use your hand gesture, but don't avoid pointing. Okay, so don't stick your finger out. Look at Barack Obama. He's holding his hand up and communicating a point. Okay, so avoid pointing. Get as many yeses. Okay. Higher hand while talking about our idea and lower the hand while talking about idea of other party. Okay, so this is also how one part of negotiation. Okay. Nod your hand to say yes, shake your hand to say no. Nod yes to be done, and when you name your company, nod no when naming competitor's name. So talk and listen. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can join interviews by trying to get other people interested in you. People are interested in you, they are interested in me, they are interested in themselves morning, noon, and after. So basically what I'm saying is that when you are actually focusing on listening, your mouth should be shut. Okay, I'm going to show you a video over here, an animated video on 6 scientifically validated principles of persuasion. Okay, so allow me to share that video. Just give me a minute, okay? Are you able to see the video? Right?
Yes, sir.
Researchers have been studying the factors that influence us to say yes to the requests of others for over 60 years.
It makes a lot of sense to see this video, okay? So maybe you'll get a change from my conversation to the video. Okay.
Researchers have been studying the factors that influence us to say yes to the requests of others for over 60 years. And there can be no doubt that there's a science to how we are persuaded. And a lot of this science is surprising. When making a decision, it would be nice to think that people consider all the available information in order to guide their thinking. But the reality is very often different. In the increasingly overloaded lives we lead, more than ever, we need shortcuts or rules of thumb to guide our decision making. My own research has identified just 6 of these shortcuts as universals that guide human behavior. They are reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, liking, and consensus. Understanding these shortcuts and employing them in an ethical manner can significantly increase the chances that someone will be persuaded by your request. Let's take a closer look at each in turn.
So, the first universal principle of influence is reciprocity. Simply put, people are obliged to give back to others the form of behavior, gift, or service that they have received first. If a friend invites you to their party, there's an obligation for you to invite them to a future party you are hosting. If a colleague does you a favor, then you owe that colleague a favor. And in the context of a social obligation, people are more likely to say yes to those that they owe. One of the best demonstrations of the principle of reciprocation comes from a series of studies conducted in restaurants. So the last time you visit a restaurant, there's a good chance that the waiter or waitress will have given you a gift. Probably at about the same time that they bring your bill. A liqueur perhaps, or a fortune cookie, or perhaps a simple mint. So here's the question. Does the giving of a mint have any influence over how much tip you're going to leave them? Most people will say no, but that mint can make a surprising difference. In the study, giving diners a single mint at the end of their meal typically increased tips by around 3%. Interestingly, if the gift is doubled and 2 mints are provided, tips don't double. They quadruple, a 14% increase in tips. But perhaps most interestingly of all is the fact that if the waiter provides 1 mint, starts to walk away from the table, but pauses, turns back, and says, "For you nice people, here's an extra mint," tips go through the roof. A 23% increase, influenced not by what was given, but how it was given. So the key to using the principle of reciprocation is to be the first to give and to ensure that what you give is personalized and unexpected.
The second universal principle of persuasion is scarcity. Simply put, people want more of those things they can have less of. When British Airways announced in 2003 that they would no longer be operating the twice-daily London-New York Concorde flight because it had become uneconomical to run, sales the very next day took off. Notice that nothing had changed about the Concorde itself. It certainly didn't fly any faster, the service didn't suddenly get better, and the airfare didn't drop. It had simply become a scarce resource, and as a result, people wanted it more. So when it comes to effectively persuading others using the scarcity principle, the science is clear. It's not enough simply to tell people about the benefits they'll gain if they choose your products and services. You'll also need to point out what is unique about your proposition and what they stand to lose if they fail to consider your proposal.
Our third principle of influence is the principle of authority, the idea that people follow the lead of credible, knowledgeable experts. Physiotherapists, for example, are able to persuade more of their patients to comply with recommended exercise programs if they display their medical diplomas on the walls of their consulting rooms. People are more likely to give change for a parking meter to a complete stranger if that requester wears a uniform rather than casual clothes. What the science is telling us is that it's important to signal to others what makes you a credible, knowledgeable authority before you make your influence attempt. Of course, this can present problems. You can hardly go around telling potential customers how brilliant you are, but you can certainly arrange for someone to do it for you. And surprisingly, the science tells us that it doesn't seem to matter if the person who introduces you is not only connected to you, but also likely to prosper from the introduction themselves. One group of real estate agents were able to increase both the number of property appraisals and the number of subsequent contracts that they wrote by arranging for reception staff who answered customer inquiries to first mention their colleagues' credentials and expertise. So, customers interested in letting a property were told, "Lettings? Let me connect you with Sandra, who has over 15 years' experience letting properties in this area." Customers who wanted more information about selling properties were told, "Speak to Peter, our head of sales. He has over 20 years' experience selling properties. I'll put you through now." The impact of this expert introduction led to a 20% rise in the number of appointments and a 15% increase in the number of signed contracts. Not bad for a small change informed from persuasion science that was both ethical and costless to implement.
The next principle is consistency. People like to be consistent with the things they have previously said or done. Consistency is activated by looking for and asking for small initial commitments that can be made. In one famous set of studies, researchers found, rather unsurprisingly, that very few people would be willing to erect an unsightly wooden board on their front lawn to support a Drive Safely campaign in their neighborhood. However, in a similar neighborhood close by, 4 times as many homeowners indicated that they would be willing to erect this unsightly billboard. Why? Because 10 days previously, they had agreed to place a small postcard in the front window of their home that signaled their support for a Drive Safely campaign. That small card was the initial commitment that led to a 400% increase in a much bigger but still consistent change. So, when seeking to influence using the consistency principle, the detective of influence looks for voluntary, active, and public commitments, and ideally gets those commitments in writing. For example, one recent study reduced missed appointments at health centers by 18%, simply by asking the patients rather than the staff to write down appointment details on the future appointment card.
The fifth principle is the principle of liking. People prefer to say yes to those that they like. But what causes one person to like another? Persuasion science tells us that there are three important factors. We like people who are similar to us, we like people who pay us compliments, and we like people who cooperate with us towards mutual goals. As more and more of the interactions that we are having take place online, it might be worth asking whether these factors can be employed effectively in, let's say, online negotiations. In a series of negotiation studies carried out between MBA students at two well-known business schools, some groups were told, time is money, get straight down to business. In this group, around 55% were able to come to an agreement. A second group, however, were told, before you begin negotiating, exchange some personal information with each other. Identify a similarity you share in common, then begin negotiating. In this group, 90% of them were able to come to successful and agreeable outcomes that were typically worth 18% more to both parties. So to harness this powerful principle of liking, be sure to look for areas of similarity that you share with others and genuine compliments you could give before you get down to business.
The final principle is consensus. Especially when they are uncertain, people will look to the actions and behaviors of others to determine their own. You may have noticed that hotels often place a small card in bathrooms that attempt to persuade guests to reuse their towels and linen. Most do this by drawing a guest's attention to the benefits that reuse can have on environmental protection. It turns out that this is a pretty effective strategy, leading to around 35% compliance. But could there be an even more way? Well, it turns out that about 75% of people who check into a hotel for 4 nights or longer will reuse their towels at some point during their stay. So what would happen if we took a lesson from the principle of consensus and simply included that information on the cards and said that 75% of our guests reuse their towels at some time during their stay, so please do so as well. It turns out that when we do this, towel reuse rises by 26%. Now imagine the next time you stay in a hotel, you saw one of these signs. You picked it up and you read the following message. 75% of people who have stayed in this room have reused their towel. What would you think? Well, here's what you might think. I hope they're not the same towels. And like most people, you probably think that this sign will have no influence on your behavior whatsoever. But it turns out that changing just a few words on a sign to honestly point out what comparable previous guests have done was the single most effective message, leading to a 33% increase in reuse. So, the science is telling us that rather than relying on our own ability to persuade others, we can point to what many others are already doing, especially many similar others.
So there we have it, 6 scientifically validated principles of persuasion that provide for small, practical, often costless changes that can lead to big differences in your ability to influence and persuade others in an entirely ethical way. They are the secrets from the science of persuasion.
Okay. How was the video?
Very impressive.
Nice.
Very informative.
Informative. Analysis.
Good. So let's move ahead. Just give me a minute. Let's move ahead. Okay. Quickly, I'm going to move ahead. I'm not going to discuss this with you, but I'm going to discuss this for sure with you. You all know about SWOT, right? Strengths,
yes,
weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So strengths are your skills, knowledge, abilities, work experience, positive characteristics, network of connections. Weaknesses are your lack of certain skills, lack of certain experience, negative characteristics, lack of goals and or education. Okay, so I think you can easily write your strengths and weaknesses for each one of you. Okay, it'll be good, nice to know where you are positive, where you need to develop, where you are good, where you need to be better, opportunities, likelihood of job growth, chances to increase skills, chance for advancement. So these are kind of opportunities. So once you come to the MBA class, what are the opportunities that you look forward to? Maybe a good SIP internship program, maybe definitely a good placement. So these are some of the opportunities which you will start working from day one. Okay. Threats in your career field, likelihood of downsizing, amount of competition for jobs. Okay. Dead end type of work. So threats are generally very, very generic. So I'm recommending that I've given a blank, but I'm recommending that you should do this square box. So one is on the listening part. If you want, I can go back to the listening if you have not already taken it down. And one is the SWOT analysis. I think you should do it as part of the homework. So great, yeah, all of you. I hope this session was not a drag and you got to learn something. A lot of times you will get to know, a lot of times each one is looking for something different in a particular session. So if you all were looking for something, I think the things you practically learned is about the art of listening, the art of being assertive, the techniques of being assertive, some body language, and finally those the video that I showed you and your SWOT analysis. So I think some of you can do some pre-work before you come to study at the campus. Thank you, and you guys have a great evening. All the best.